Hey, thank you so much for watching. I'm Pippi Peterson. You can connect with me on Patreon, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as my website at Pippenings.com, where you can get your Righty Road t-shirt. So I'm at my very first stop on my big long road trip. I'm in northern Arizona in Flagstaff, and I used to live up here. I did ecological restoration and forestry work, and coming through, I just had to stop and see people that I remember, crossing my fingers. It's still the same way it was. So there's some pretty interesting stuff. So let's go check out the Dendrochronology lab. So northern Arizona is home to the world's largest ponderosa pine contiguous forest. It's like several million acres. And when I was working in forestry and ecological restoration, we would look at the effects of fire in these forests and how management changed over the last couple hundred years or 100 years to get it to the state of health that it is right now, which needs a little bit more management and maintenance than it used to. So here we are in the Dendro lab, and I used to sit here for hours at a time, and what we'd do is we would read tree core samples. We would date the rings on them. Dating the rings on these core samples was one of the steps in the research process. And once they were dated and had all the information that the dendrochronologist would record, then it would go to the principal investigator and they would use the data in their research. So the way that you take one of these core samples is you use a borer, like this guy, and you just line it up low, with the tree and drill it in. And then once you've got it in, pretty much up until here, or depending on how big the tree is, right? You go try to hit halfway or a little bit past halfway. Then you slip this spoon in, and then you turn it one more time, and that kind of breaks the core. And then you can pull the spoon out, and that core will be on the spoon. And then to get it out of the field, because when you do this, you're working in the field all day long, and you don't want these cores to break because they're pretty fragile. Then you put them in straws and then tape up the ends, and at the end of the day you'd have like 20 straws with cores in them, and bring them back. And so then once they come to the lab, they dry out, and then they're mounted on these just little wood blocks that are made here, especially for these cores, with a little kind of a hole spot to put it in, glue it in, and then they are ready to be read under a microscope. Catastrophic wildfires have been happening in the last couple dozen years. For example, there's the Rodeo Chetasky fire in 2002 and the Wallow fire in 2011 in northern Arizona. I'm just talking about northern Arizona, or Arizona in general. And so researchers want to look at why are these catastrophic fires happening, and was that something normal, and what is causing them to be so catastrophic, so they can look back at the health of these. What the researchers will gain from this knowledge is, one, the very basic one, they're going to know the age of that particular tree, and then looking at it, depending on whether the rings are closer together or farther apart, they can tell the health of the forest and the structure of it. So for example, after or before a certain time period, the trees were growing bigger and you see the smaller rings, and maybe that means something happened in the environment to cause the health of the forest or those particular trees to degrade. So there's a lot of information that can be gained just by counting these rings. The other thing to look at are these fire-scarred samples, and they will tell you when fires actually occurred. So these are all usually counted underneath a microscope. But you can see the dendrochronologist that was working on this counted the years back. So you always want to count from the outside and then go inward. And then you can see these little darker rings, that's when there were fires. So all these fires are marked. And then by comparing, for example, this tree with this one or another one, you can learn, when the fires were in the forest, and get some more data from that. We can look at this section of a tree. And we can see here's the beginning when it was germinated, and you could count out, and you see here the rings are much closer together, so that was, you know, somewhat normal. Then you see here at whatever year this was, there was a release and competition was eliminated, so it, you know, grew really easily. And then after a while it kind of evened out. And this was more a historical representation of what was kind of naturally happening. And then about 100 years ago, fire managers restricted fires because they thought that that was actually better for the forest. And so then after the last fire, you know, they started restricting the fires. Then you get this huge, it's called fire exclusion lobe coming out. So there's a lot of valuable information in just a piece of wood like this, or tree cores throughout, that researchers can get so much information from. By the way, you might be thinking like, oh my God, they cut a tree down, or, you know, are they damaging or killing the trees? No, there was no trees harmed in the making of this. Yes, in a sense it damages it. I mean, you're taking a little core out, but it doesn't kill them. I mean, everybody here doing this research are stewards of the forest, and they're helping it. These can come out without damaging the tree, and this one came from an area that is specifically grown for research. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you found any value in this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it, like it, and subscribe to my channel for more upcoming videos regarding RV living, RV renovations, RV maintenance, and RV solar. Thanks for watching.